There are two kinds of power, and understanding the difference between them is especially significant when we think about God and our relationship with God. What does power mean to you? Now, most people will answer that question by referring either to rich individuals or to a winning sports team or to the military might of some nation. An individual like Bill Gates from Microsoft or Jeff Bezos from Amazon is considered powerful because they have the position and the resources to do what they want to. Jeff Bezos can tell employees within his company what to do, but they don't have the same power to order him around. There is a hierarchical flow within this kind of power. We can name this power unilateral power. It flows from the top to the bottom. It is the ability to affect others without being affected by them. A winning sports team, for instance, is able to enforce their will on the competing team without being subjected to have that same will enforced on them. Now, this kind of power is attractive because it gives us control. It prevents others from having undue influence over us. Nietzsche called it the will to power. It's a kind of power that's competitive at its very core, and it divides people up into different levels of power, with the weak, the vulnerable, the poor at the bottom, and the rich, the unaffected, occupying the higher levels of this hierarchy. There has always been a recognition that power, value, and reality are related. The more powerful, the more valuable, and the more real. This understanding of power has an ancient philosophical basis. Plato said that any sort of power to affect another, or to be affected by another, if only for a single moment, however trifling the cause and however slight the effect, has real existence. And I hold that the definition of being is simply power. Now, although this definition allows just as much scope for being affected as for affecting others, most theologians and philosophers throughout time have preferred just the ability to affect, and they kind of view being affected as a weakness, as something to be avoided. Now, this understanding of power has had enormous influence on theology and the way in which we have viewed God. In his book, Process Relational Philosophy by Robert Messel, he describes this influence as follows. Aristotle challenged Plato's vision in many important respects. Nevertheless, he gave us one especially clear example of the traditional connection between unilateral power, value, and reality. Aristotle described his God as the unmoved mover. The whole world was affected by God, but God was affected by nothing. Obviously, the divine unmoved mover was unchangeable, just as Plato had argued. Now, these ideas of power have become inseparable from our ideas about God. So much so that one of the most popular ways in which we describe God when we begin a definition of what we mean is the word omnipotence or the word almighty. Now, can you see how important power is in our understanding of God, that we have even named him the Almighty? And that's rather strange if you consider that the word the Almighty does not occur within the Hebrew Bible. Yes, it does appear within our translations, within our English Bibles, but we've translated it from the Hebrew word El Shaddai. And I wonder why Hebrew commentators and translators have always preferred the translation, the all-sufficient one, rather than the Almighty. Now, part of the reason is because El Shaddai, the most likely word, Shaddai simply means breasts. And so the simplest translation would have been the breasted one. The word also has some similarities to the word mountain, but, there's obvious correlation between form in terms of mountains and breasts. And actually, the scriptures very often use mountains and breasts to reflect one another. For example, your breasts are perfect. They are twin deer, feeding among lilies. I will hasten to those hills sprinkled with sweet perfume and stay there till sunrise. Song of Solomon 4 verse 5 and 6. Rejoice with Jerusalem, and all who love her exult in her. Be glad with her in gladness, all who mourn for her. That you suck and be sated from her comforting breast, that you drink deep and know pleasure from her glorious teat, my holy mountain in Jerusalem. That's Isaiah 66 verse 10, 11, and the last part of verse 20 in the Robert Alter translation. Now, some translators preferred the image of mountain as a symbol of enduring strength and stability. But the meaning of the word only becomes clear in the context in which it is used. So let's go look at some of the earliest instances within the Hebrew Bible where the word El Shaddai was used. And may El Shaddai bless you, make you fruitful and multiply you, so that you become an assembly of people. Genesis 28 verse 3. I am El Shaddai, be fruitful and multiply. A nation, an assembly of nations shall stem from you, and kings shall come from your loins. That's Genesis 35 verse 11. From the God of our fathers may he aid you. Shaddai, may he bless you. Blessings of the heavens above, blessings of the deep that lies below, blessings of the breasts and the womb. That's Genesis 49, verse 25. You see, the context here speaks of nurturing, of supplying, of enabling. It is not the kind of power that is forceful. Neither is it the kind of power that is related to dominance. It's rather the kind of power that enables blessing, that nurtures and gives growth. What's at stake here is two fundamentally different ways of understanding power, and therefore two fundamentally different ways of understanding God. Just this week I was asked by somebody about the millions who have died in childhood, and the apparent, reluctance of God to intervene and do something about it. I mean, seeing that He is the Almighty, surely He should be able to intervene and do something about it. See, that view of power creates a whole lot of consequences for how we even understand God's goodness. See, I think we have fundamentally misunderstood the power of God as unilateral power, as the power that is able to control, to dominate, to intervene and enforce His will upon creation and upon this world. In Jesus, an entirely different form of power is revealed. In fact, 1 Corinthians 1 verse 25 calls it the power of weakness. For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. See, the incarnation is the scandal that divine life has found a home within vulnerable human flesh. The power of this God is demonstrated in His ability to so deeply identify with us that He can suffer with us, that He can be tempted just like we are tempted, that He can enter into this human existence with all its frailties, all its contradictions, and still be God. Maybe we must reconsider what this power is. See, in process theology, the power of God is not a controlling force. This God does not manipulate events and people to conform to His will. In other words, God is not directly responsible for all that happens. He doesn't orchestrate every event of this world to conform to His will. But rather, the power of God is manifest in the freedom that He gives all of creation to choose which possibilities to realize and to actualize. He is the one who doesn't make things happen, but rather who makes happenings possible. What's another way of saying that? See, love is a relational power that both affects and opens itself up to be affected. Those who have loved most knows that love transforms us. And love has no desire to control. There's no desire to manipulate or to overpower the one it loves. It's a very different kind of power. I hope this is starting to create a new vision of God. This God is not the unmoved mover, but rather the most moved mover, because He is present in every moment, in every experience. He is present as creation unfolds. He's the one that makes it all possible. But freedom also, by its very definition, is the ability to make choices that is contrary to the will of another, even evil. And so the power of God is also manifest in luring us, inviting us towards the good and the beautiful. Is it possible to love? Is it possible to create something beautiful and meaningful? That possibility is God inviting you to participate with Him in this mysterious wonder of an unfolding creation. Hey, my friends, if you've enjoyed these videos, if they help you create meaning and freedom within your own life, do me a favor and share them. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and stay in touch. We would like to continue with this conversation. Thank you. Bye.